You said 2 television channels, 24/7 esports content in the early 2000s.
It was 20 years ago and it was hugely popular. There's a famous picture of Busan Beach in Korea where they have over 100,000 people at the beach watching a pro league game.
Today I'm joined by an esports veteran who spent over 15 years turning competitive gaming from passion projects into a global business. He scaled teams from 10 to 120 people, helped raise more than $90 million for GeoGuessr, and now runs Clutch Group, a leader in esports operations. It seems very flashy esports, like from an outside looking in. I don't know how the numbers make sense.
You're expecting it to be hugely costly, a lot of money, a lot of live audience as well. But at the same time, it could be something small like a weekly or monthly cup that is broadcasted online.
What would you say makes like a really good esports game? Can someone change their game to make it more esports friendly?
It needs to be so fun that the cap for the skill is not too low. At the level where the top players can show off their skills, that they can show that they're better than the others.
We talk about why so many organizations chase hype instead of healthy margins, how to build competition formats that can actually grow your game, and what developers get wrong when trying to add esports to their titles.
I wouldn't start with making this an esports if it's possible. You don't want to be branded as a hardcore esport. Make it fun. This is a fun game, and you want to have a fun competitions. Esports is not the solution to everything.
From the mind behind some of Europe's biggest online tournaments, this episode's guest, CEO of Clutch Group, Simon Sundén. Simon, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Very, very good. Very excited for today's conversation. You're a very busy man as well. Back to back, we got Gamescom coming up, and also you just come back from a few weeks of holiday, you were telling me before we started recording.
Yes, correct. I've been having the July month is pretty much the vacation month in Sweden overall. So I've been in Greece. I've also been to some places in Stockholm visiting family and friends and everything. So today is the day I'm officially back from vacation and started working 100% again.
So I'm your first thing back from vacation. Nice.
You're the first meeting, actually, to be honest. Yes, you are.
Nice. I got you fresh. Lovely.
Yes.
So for people at home, Simon's a veteran in the competitive gaming scene and esports, so over 15 years in esports. And he's also helped scale companies from 10 to 120 people. He also helped fundraise over 90 million for GeoGuessr. And he was VP at GeoGuessr, and now he's built Clutch Group, which is a very profitable esports operations company. So what we're getting into today is a couple topics, actually. So we've got why investment capital is often more dangerous than helpful, and how to kind of launch in a game is harder than ever, and why and where competitive gaming fits in there. And then essentially talking about kind of what it takes to build a profitable company, scale teams, and learn to build a game that lasts. So I want to open with esports because it's got a different perception based on who you ask, I found. Like if someone's in esports, they will give me one answer. And if someone's used to be in esports and they got burnt in the past, they'll give me a very different answer. So I want to ask you, like, when did esports kind of become a thing and like how did it boom? Could you tell us that story?
So when you're looking at esports, you need to look at it from a wide range of history when it comes to this. So if you look at competitive gaming, it has always existed since the beginning of games. It existed when it comes to the 80s and 90s. People were competing in arcade games, Missile Command, Donkey Kong. You competed in Nintendo games as well. So if you look at from the Western part of the world, you always competed in these games overall. But what makes it interesting when it comes to esports is that you also have the viewership component. It's not only the participation, it's the viewership and fan part of it, and also sponsors and everything else. And I think that where that got popularized to a wide audience was in South Korea. And this was during the late 90s and beginning of the millennia. The country had a bad economy overall and a lot of unemployment. And a game called StarCraft was launched. And for Korea, especially StarCraft Brood War, which was the expansion of the game. And it became a smash hit. Back then, Korea also had what's called, or still has, PC bangs. People went to a PC bang to play the games. And StarCraft became hugely successful that people started watching each other play against each other. It became so big that it was started to become broadcasted on TV. In early pictures, you can see these pro players in like weird space suits because they were trying to make them look like spacey Star Trekky. But it became a smash success with a lot of fans, people playing it. So during the beginning of the millennia, and we're talking about over 20 years ago or something, StarCraft was such a big hit, and also from esports side of things in South Korea, that it got broadcasted on 2 separate 24/7 live channels.
Wow.
So it was amazingly big here, and we're talking about pro matches all the time. It was talk shows, it was reality shows, there was teams. You had like game shows. Everyone was living together. You were competing in a pro league. Even the Korean military had a team in this league because you had 2-year mandatory service in Korea, and people were playing computer games, so they were a part of it as well. So it was massively successful. If you look at esports pictures today of live audience in arenas like League of Legends Worlds, Dota 2, or Esports World Cup, you will see a lot of people in the audience and fans cheering. You had that in Korea over 20 years ago as well.
Similar numbers of people, you would say? Like the Esports World Cup is coming up, right? Like, how do we compare?
No, it's ongoing right now, and they have like tens of thousands of people across the 8 weeks that they're running. But if you look at way back in 20 years ago, Korea already had this. I think there's a famous picture of when they had a pro league match in Busan, Korea during midsummer. It was over 100,000 people in the audience watching the game at the beach. And that happened way back then. So that, I would say, is the beginning of the popularization of esports. And the second thing that happened when it comes to the Western Hemisphere was during the like roughly 2010 or something like that. And it was hugely successful when it comes to live streaming. You see the picture there? Yes, Busan Beach, that's one.
That's crazy.
That's StarCraft Brood War, and this is over 20 years ago, or roughly 20 years ago. This is massive impact, as you can see. You don't often see this nowadays in esports. You can see some pictures.
And we're going to get into why
worlds.
as well, because I'm curious, because it seems very flashy esports, like from an outside looking in. I don't know how the numbers make sense. Like I see the whole, like my introduction to esports, which I'd love to get your thoughts on later, is like I see FaZe Clan, and then I just find all those headlines like, they just make zero money and they keep raising money forever and ever and ever. I'm like, what is happening? Like, why are people doing this? And that's why I get really confused. It's like, okay, what's real? What's flashy? I don't get it.
No, but if you look at the beginning time of StarCraft when it comes to Korea, they were not. You didn't have these kind of investment money or FaZe Clans or anything you're talking about. There was other teams involved here, but the thing here is that what made it different was that it broke through the cultural mainstream in that country. Mm-hmm. It became a thing. So the pro matches were half of the people in the audience were at least gods. They were fangirls of these players overall, and reality shows and everything else. I hate to break it to you, but esports generally is a male-dominated area. That's the same thing with computer games. That's who's playing computer games. You will see, you see more.
It's around 80-20%. I keep seeing that. I did my podcast demographics today, and it's also 80-20%.
That's just how it is, especially if you go into PC and console. If you go on mobile, it's a little bit of a different story, but on PC and console, it's that way. And that made it so it became a cultural thing when it comes to Korea, StarCraft Brood War overall, and it still exists there as well. And PC banks helped as well, like in Seoul, in every single. You can just walk a couple of 100 meters and you found a PC bank where you could play these games.
Like an internet cafe? Is that what a PC
internet
bank
cafe?
is?
It was, yes, PC bank, internet cafe, you played it overall in this big city. So it became this big overall. What happened in the West in the meantime is there was a lot of games that were popular and competitive and had a couple of viewers. It was like World of Warcraft, you had Counter-Strike was hugely popular. But the thing about it as well in the West is that the Western Hemisphere is so many countries. It's the same culture, but it was hard to broadcast. There was some TV networks that tried it and failed. You had a technology like Octoshape and everything else. It was very, very iffy overall. But during like roughly 2010, 2010, it was the same time as StarCraft 2 came to launch. Live stream became better. You had Own 3D, you had services like Ustream, you had Justin TV Gaming, and Justin TV Gaming was the predecessor to Twitch TV. And the streams here made it possible so people could view it worldwide overall. And some of these streams started to get a lot of viewers. And that's when esports became a popular thing in the West during this time. Twitch, I would say, is a major factor here because they were leader together with some others as well. YouTube didn't do live gaming more live that time, but it was Twitch and some others as well. At the same time, a couple of years later, 2 or 3 years later, League of Legends became popular. Dota 2 also became popular. And all of these games just made it so it boomed when it comes to popularity. And the last thing was also that people could start live streaming themselves. Internet connection was good enough, your computers were good enough, you could start live streaming. So you immediately got this live streaming boom as well. So what was possible, if you're a fan of a game and a community, you can suddenly start watching content all the time. The same thing as what South Koreans could do 10 years before that. But during that time, it was during their 24/7 live TV channels that they had. And we in the West didn't really have that. So live streaming were the biggest boom, I would say, to esports becoming successful.
That's interesting. So I actually imagine 20 years ago, like they probably didn't have, well, they didn't, right? Like loads of YouTube content of StarCraft. Like if you wanted to watch pro level gameplay, you'd be on whatever's on those channels or that kind of things, right?
You have to remember, like YouTube was launched like in the mid 2000s. It's not that old if you think about it. It's I don't know if YouTube is 20 years old yet or not, but it's we're talking about. It's not been that long, to be honest. So esports boom was before that.
Wow.
Yes, so we're talking about roughly the same time, and a couple of years later, live streaming came. So sure, you had some guides and everything, but if you add all of these different things together, you're starting to realize, okay, that's what I would say that when competitive gaming became esports overall.
Okay. So I want to take this to the commercial side now. So these are for people either listening at home, want to understand how esports fits in from a commercial point of view. Like, how does this help us make more money from our games or from a marketing perspective? And I'd love for you to take us through your journey here. So with G-Loot and then MPLG, like, what were you spending your time doing? How did the company make money? I'm guessing it's marketing related, right? We're helping have more people play the game and maybe retain players more through esports. But what did that actually end up being? And I would love to contrast that with today. That's what I'd love to get into. Like, what was happening kind of like when you started and now, like, what's the meta with trying to get esports to help your game be more successful?
Yeah. So when I started when I joined G-Loot, I was a couple of years at Modern Times Group, where we acquired ESL, which was the biggest esports company in the world right now. I joined a startup called G-Loot. Back then it was like 7 or 8 people, and I joined there, and we started to get in a lot of investment money. The idea that we had there was that we were to build an app and a site where people could compete and win money in esports. That was the basic principle. It started on mobile games, actually, but then went into PC as well. And the idea here is that the company itself that we're doing would take a little bit of cut of what all of the subscriptions, the entry fees from the players, and everything else in this regard overall. The benefit from the game publishers were that you would see increased amount of engagement when it comes to your game.
Why is that important?
Because if you have a gameplay loop and you can continue continue keeping your players, you would earn more money overall. I think that's back then we're talking about esports. It's the same thing as you're talking about the live service game formula right now that has been talked about in the industry as well. Is if you can keep your players engaged and continue playing everything else, you can earn more money. That was our main principle and goal when we did it. What other thing that is also important when it comes to esports is, and for a lot of companies as well, it's a marketing game as well. It's you will get yourself from a PR marketing perspective and everything else. You will get this engagement overall. It's community building, it's PR, it's marketing. You will keeping attracting everything else there. So there's a lot of different things when it comes to this, when it comes to esports. This is also the reason why esports has been a little bit tricky to fit into which department should this be into when it comes to game publishers.
I want to highlight something. I found it interesting because I only really thought about it from a marketing perspective, and it kind of helps with retention. But now that I think about it, like if you have a live service game and you're producing content, and that's the reason people come back. But like, what if you just had an awesome competitive scene, and like every quarter, everyone can get used to it. It's accessible for everyone. And then let's say you never make content again, and you just keep riffing on the way you compete. That is effectively live service content without having to like make content all the other time. It can just be, and that could, in theory, be cheaper, right? Like than making new content as the reason to keep people playing. I didn't realize it as a quick, like that seems really interesting to me.
And I think it's when it comes to this as well, is that if you look at some of the big games, it's what you're saying. It's very hard to succeed here, but it's something that is happening. So League of Legends, they're running the multiple competitions worldwide. So there's always content for people to take a look at and be engaged in your community and game. Counter-Strike, there's a gazillion tournaments and happenings all the time. There's extra services where you can play on Faceit, you can play on eSportal or other services as well. So it already exists. So, and in Dota 2, you had these amazing battle passes as well. So in some of these games, it already exists what you're mentioning. And when it comes to esports, is that you always have it deeply connected to your games all the time.
Nice.
And that is becoming part of your game structure. It's even more important the more competitive and multiplayer the game is overall. And that esports is a core part of the strategy overall. That's also why I think you've seen it quite a lot of esports when it comes to FPS shooters overall.
Yeah, what do you say to most people who think esports equals FPS shooter? Is that a statement? Is that like 80% of esports is now FPS, or is there?
No, not at all. But it's one of the most popular genres for sure.
Yeah, naturally. I guess that's with games as well, no?
Yes, of course. Like, and it's the same thing with sports as well. Like ball games is naturally the most popular form of sports in the world. If it's American football, you got like soccer, you got volleyball, handball. Everything is connected to a ball overall. So in the same way as it is in esports, which has multiple different areas of competing, it's going to be the same thing. So naturally get that.
Alrighty. I haven't mentioned this yet, which we definitely should. You are one of the most important people behind the GeoGuessr World Cup, right?
Yes, correct.
That's very interesting to me because I think you're probably the reason I discovered GeoGuessr, because I watched a YouTube video of someone playing it competitively. It's like, hilarious. What is this game? And then I went down that rabbit hole for like a month or two, just watching like VODs and stuff, people trying to get like the best score. And it was just from a clip on YouTube about competing on GeoGuessr. So that's been a long journey, I'd imagine. And that's also an interesting example where it's not an FPS.
No.
The only time I hear about GeoGuessr, at least on my social feeds, is a competition or like a YouTuber makes another video, but it's usually like the competition that's coming up. I don't want you to share anything you're not allowed to share, but essentially, I'm looking for the secret sauce here. Like, how does that happen? Like, why did they start esports? Is it working? I'm guessing it is. But like, for people looking to kind of activate esports for their game, could you walk us through like the GeoGuessr example, like from a commercial point of view? Like, why are they doing it?
So I can only explain from and the big cred here goes to the whole GeoGuessr team because they're the ones who created the game. And what we're doing here at Clutch Group, we're running things operationally when it comes to the GeoGuessr World League and also the World Championship. But the big cred goes to the creators of GeoGuessr and the team and the company behind this game. And it was actually them that came up with this idea when it comes to the World Championship. So they started this hugely successful game where you guess a location on a map. That story is quite fascinating and becomes super big. And the community started to have some competitions in this one as well.
So the community started the first GeoGuessr competition.
Yeah, you could compete online in that game, of course, because that's the principle of that game. But the community started to have some competitions, and then you also had some popular figures like Rainbolt in that game. And then GeoGuessr themselves said that, hey, we want to launch a world championship. Let's do the GeoGuessr World Cup. And they talked to some people, and I got involved afterwards. And it was quite a lot of rock and roll overall. Like, okay, how are we going to do a world championship with this one? And they came with a prospect, the idea here, and we helped operate it. And it immediately became a success overall. I think this was back in 2023, over 2 years ago. And it started to become and get a lot of attention, especially in mainstream as well. And it just continued to grow there. And I think that the key thing about GeoGuessr is that it's probably one of the most easiest to understand esports titles that you can ever find. Compared to a game like StarCraft or Counter-Strike, where you need to understand the game a little bit on how it works, GeoGuessr is something I can explain to my mother. Oh, here's a map picture, and they're going to guess where this location is.
The learning curve is low. Actually, that's interesting because if I think about all the game shows we used to watch on television, there's also a very low learning curve. It's either a physical competition and you can see who's winning, or it's like trivia, I guess. And
Yes.
I noticed like League of Legends, I tried playing it, but I can't watch it because I just don't understand it. I don't understand why he's in the shop for like 5 minutes buying all that stuff. I don't want to learn to understand it, so I'm not going to watch it. But GeoGuessr, the learning curve is so short, right?
No, and everyone has used these kind of Google Maps as well. Find a location, so you're accustomed to it. Or everyone that has actually used the street view or understands it can see, oh, this looks like Asia, this looks like this. And they can also understand the skill level from a player to understand exact correct location overall. So it's a very, very attractive game in that sense that it can attract quite a lot of audience overall. And it's deeply integrated to the game as well. And I think that the team behind GeoGuessr has done a tremendous job on keeping this a success. It was a success during 2023, and it continued as well in 2024. We were a part of the whole majors as well. And then the new thing that we did for this season was also World League, which we were helping operate, which is every single week you had pro matches going on at the same time overall that we're running all online as well. No one at the studio, none of the players, but with webcams just as this, and playing online all the time to keeping the community engaged and keeping the players and everyone engaged. And it's become a huge success. And I think this is a testament of a game that is not FPS that we're talking about, not League of Legends that we talked about, but a game that can become a good esports and a great success. And I think there's a lot of these different games out there, but they don't really realize it themselves that they could be like hugely successful and popular when it comes to this. But everything can be that way, and I think that GeoGuessr is a proof of it.
Beautiful. Let's talk to those people. So let's say I have a game and it's not an FPS, it's multiplayer. How do I check if my game is kind of ready for esports? Like, when does that come in the life cycle of a game?
So I think that when it comes to, can you compete in the game? That's a yes or no question. That's the first thing. Can you compete in the game? If the answer is yes, can you compete against others in a community? If that answer is also yes, then you have the basic concepts of a competitive game. The third thing you have to have is it fun to compete against others as well? Because if it's not fun to compete, it will never be fun to watch either, in my experience, because it's you need to have this kind of community engagement and everyone involved in it. And as long as you have these, and then you also need to have some kind of details on, you need to be able to view who's winning and losing, some stats and other stuff like that to make it, if you want to broadcast it. But from a competitive standpoint, it's quite easy to have a game. You could pretty much have, if I have a mobile game which is race against the time, I can pretty much have two different screens next to each other and you can do it. It's not super hard. We've run tournaments for mobile games where you're playing a motocross game on a 2D setting, and it's super fun to watch. So there's a lot of these different things you can do, and it's easier than you can expect to make it popular. The main thing is how much resources and how much expectations do you get into it. I think that a lot of people expect esports to be this flashy, live, big things that are happening. You see the Esports World Cup, you see the League of Legends World Championship. Hey, you even see the GeoGuessr World Championship that is live in an arena. You're expecting it to be hugely costly, a lot of money, a lot of live audience as well. But at the same time, it could be something small like a weekly or monthly cup that is broadcasted online. So I think that you need to look at it from a perspective of what's your expectations on what is a good esports, what is not a good esports, and how you do it.
So let's say I run the check, and yes, I have a game that qualifies for esports. When you look at the games that are kind of doing well, what do they have in common? Like, what does a good esports game have in common? You touched on it a little bit when it comes to being able to see who's winning rather. But what would you say makes like a really good esports game? What can someone, as a developer, maybe, like, they can obviously change their game to make it more esports friendly. Is that something you would recommend someone to do?
Yes, I think that one of the main things that is making, if you want to have, now we're going to detail on what's a great esports game and what can make it good. So first of all, it's skill ceiling overall. It needs to be so fun that there's the cap for the skill is not too low. And what I mean there is that I'm going to take two games as an example, chess and tennis overall. In chess, there is no skill ceiling. You can just be like, there's, if you are the best in the world, you are the best in the world. And there's maybe like a handful of people that can actually even touch you overall. Tennis, if you're the best in the world, there's also the same thing. The skill ceiling is so high, it's ridiculous overall. I'm not saying that you need to be those kind of games overall, but it needs to be something where, if you want to be a successful esports, where the skill is at the level where the top players can show off their skills, that they can show that they're better than the others overall. It doesn't need to be like, because if it's low cap, it just becomes random. If you reach to a certain point of skill, it becomes random who's winning.
Yeah, but don't games become enjoyable to watch when there's that element of randomness?
It becomes enjoyable to watch if there's randomness, yes. But that's when it comes to random elements, not random in itself.
So, like,
do you get what I mean?
You don't want the player winning to be due to a random event, at least most of the time, because it does happen. I'm thinking of Hearthstone here, because there was a massive controversy when I was used to watch Hearthstone, where everyone was like, because of the latest expansion had so many random generating effects, it's like, oh yeah, this guy won the game because he generated this random thing, not because he's a better player, and he just got lucky on the day. And that's where it got a bit like,
And when it comes to that, yes, Hearthstone is a random game, and it's something to keep in mind here. If there's too much randomness, you need to start working with the formats for the game overall. It needs to be best of sevens. You need to have everything of this to mitigate the randomness overall, like pick and ban phase, banning certain decks. There's a lot of different things you need to do there to keep it in mind. But that's the one thing. But the second thing for esports as well, it needs to be, if you want to have a great one, fun. It needs to be fun to watch. You need to have these fun moments, the amazing happenings that are happening. You can showcase the skill. Like a clutch moment in Counter-Strike where someone can clutch the end of the game, that's fun to watch. That's super fun. An instant guess in GeoGuessr, which is a 5K, that's super fun to watch. Like,
so almost when you say fun, you say like 5-second clip fun, because I've noticed like if a game feels satisfying to watch, it's okay. But I feel like a game does need that like instant, like wow, like a clutch, like you said.
Yeah, no, but it needs to have that kind of gratification from the viewer and also the player that you made something so amazing. That you feel successful. Oh yeah, I made it. You're sitting on your seat, you're excited. I made it. I clutched it. Like for anyone that has played Counter-Strike, if you're doing a clutch moment at the end of a round or something, that's an amazing feeling you have.
I mean, normal sports, right? Like it's some of the most watched things ever when someone either becomes an underdog and they do something, or it's just something technically performed beautiful. It's always nice.
Yes. So if you have those kind of moments in a game as well, or it's hard to design, but if you can make that, that's amazing as well. Like if you can, and exist in like, oh, I had a perfect save in football or the perfect hoop when it comes to basketball, anything that makes it exciting and fun to play and watch. Those are the main things I see when it comes to like a successful, or I want to say like a big esports overall. And the third thing I would say as well is that it's easy to enter as well. The barrier to entry is low.
From what side? People. The player or the watcher?
From the player as well. From the player. And also the watcher as well.
How do you make a game more accessible, especially when it has a high skill ceiling? I feel like that's the catch-22. If it has a high skill ceiling, can it be easier to start playing?
Is it fun to play with your friend? That's the main thing. I think that a lot of games right now is playing with your friends overall. I think that if it's fun to compete together with your friend, that's a low skill ceiling, because then you can play. Like if you and I are going to hit a game of play and we can find equal opponents in our game, same skill set, we're gonna have fun.
Yeah.
Most definitely. That's one thing to keep in mind there, that I would say that is the crucial thing. And then the other thing is like barrier to entry, easy. I do think there's a barrier to entry when it comes to watchability as well, to understand it. There's a couple of games that have succeeded in terms of viewership without that, but that's mainly because the player base is so huge in those games.
Honestly, Simon,
I would say League of Legends is the prime example. If you're watching a team fight in League of Legends and haven't played the game, you don't understand a thing. you don't get what kind of spells is there. You can kind of get the excitement on how the pieces on the map is moving and the heroes and characters, but you don't understand like what's a good thing here.
I think the important thing is I can't see when someone clutches something. Like it's just too small, or it's like I don't know what that ability effects was, or whether it's hard to land.
In some cases you can see it, but in some areas it becomes too cloggy, I would say, overall.
Yeah. One thing I want to stress on this, Simon, because I'm going to Gamescom. What I do is a few hours I just go and play games. And my main feedback when I'm giving feedback is the watchability. The YouTube watchability. Like if I can imagine someone streaming this or doing a commentary video, and I'm like, I can't, because it's just too hard to understand what's happening, who's winning. And this is even for a single player game. I think it's super important. And I really like Balatro for this reason. For me anyway, it's just like the way it's set up, there's just so much space where a streamer can put their camera there. You can always see what's happening, and everything's quote unquote iconic. Like there's no clutter, at least for me. And I found a lot of new games when they're making them, I don't know why, like the watchability seems quite low compared to what I'm used to. Like I just don't get what's happening right now. And I'm like, I've played roguelike card games before, but like, why is that number green? What's that supposed to be? Like, it's just not intuitive for me.
No, and I get it as well. And I think that this is the same thing when it comes to streamed games or YouTube commentated game as well as then esports game. And I'm going to give another example of this one where it's possible. We mentioned League of Legends, and Counter-Strike is easier to follow as well. But another genre that popped up then became super popular is the Battle Royale, PUBG, Fortnite, these kind of games. One of the reasons why they became popular was it was super fun to watch these streamers being at the end circle and doing this kind of survival
Talk about
thing
clutch
in a Battle
moment,
Royale.
because it's guaranteed every game. Because if someone wins, they're 1 out of 100.
Yes.
That's really interesting to me.
And it was like the beginning of PUBG was super fun to watch. Same thing with Fortnite. All of these, like we got big influencers and stars out of this period. And both PUBG and Fortnite are hugely successful esports titles right now with massive amount of following. So that's one point where you can see like, yes, the fun moment, the excitement overall. And if you ever play Battle Royale and you're sitting there at the last second, you're like head to head against another and your heart rate is pumping up overall, that's amazing time to watch and be a part of.
Beautiful.
And those are the things that can make something a game, and not only an esport, but make it a great esports if you can have those.
Sweet. Simon, this might not go well, or this might go well, but I have a challenge for you. So
Yes.
While you're on holiday, a game. No, actually, you released 16th of June. Have you heard of Peak by Landfall Games?
Oh, yes, I've heard about it. Yes, I have.
What I want to do is, I was thinking about this podcast. I was like, could Peak be in esports? I'm pretty sure it can. And I'm wondering if you could walk us through what you think if this game could be an esports game. Could we do that?
Sure. I think it's so I have to be completely honest. I haven't played this game yet because I haven't been able to look at it too much overall.
I haven't played it. I haven't seen it. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this, but I feel like we're going to do it anyway. So like the main premise, it's co-op climbing game. And if you remember the game Going Up, where they're trying to hit the top, but they can fall down.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
So it's that, but you're playing it with a friend. And I'm guessing there's time limits. Like for me, this feels like, I mean, isn't this like a layup? We can just have 2 teams and then whoever gets to the top. Like this surely could be an esports. But I don't know if I'm being too excited. Like, is this esports ready? Like, is there something that needs to change? Like, could you walk us through what you think about this game when it comes to esports?
So this game is, I would say, like this is a fantastic co-op game, and I've looked at it before, and I think it's like sounds super fun, and it's something that I could actually play with my friends. That's the main thing, and I think that whenever you talk about esports, let's make a game fun. That's the main thing first.
Yeah, so,
don't think about other things as well. And
so
trying
that's a check,
to make
right?
this, yes, super fun. It's super popular as well. Damn, it's super popular and everything else. Could you make this an esports or a cool competitive game? Sure, you can. Like, as long as you have 2 teams at the same map that are battling it out on who's going to get the first, that's one thing. You can also make fun things out of this. Like you can have a random influencer together with another person doing this together. So there are a lot of things in this game that I'm just at the glance of it, you could actually make it the fun competitions out of it overall. I think it's this is a game where it's the cooperation and playing with your friend is the main thing here overall, and not really the competition itself. So I would say like this is a co-op game, and that's the main thing. But you can do competitions in it as well. Yes, you can.
So should they? I didn't hear you say that. I know you're biased because you run an esports company, but like, is this a thing where they should just do it?
So what I would say is I wouldn't start with making this an esports if it's possible. Like make it a hardcore.
Why not? I'm surprised you're saying that.
You're surprised? No, because this is a super casual thing, and you don't want to be branded as a hardcore esport. Make it fun. This is a fun game, and you want to have a fun competitions. You should do it that way overall. If you want to go into esport for this game, you should make it like fun competitions at the start and see where it goes. That's one thing. Secondly, try to, is in that case, empower the others to try to run some competitions. Because the thing is as well, when it comes to esports, if you have a successful formula and a successful game overall, when it comes to co-op that is super good and everything else, I'm not going to go in and say like, hey, you need to do esports for your game. They know what they're doing. They know what's fun with their game and everything else. And esports is not the solution to everything. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
I thought every game who had like a speedrunning community that is watchable, why shouldn't you have an esports? Like I see it just as like a platform. Maybe I need to change the way I'm thinking. I just see it as like you have YouTube, you have Twitch. Well, another channel for my game could be esports. I thought it would just be like at a certain point you just do it. But
how much of your focus on the company and the money you're spending on it should be in these areas?
Okay.
So it's one thing to opening up to anyone in the community to do it, but how much focus are you as a company going to do in it overall? Depends on how much focus you have. Like Farmville or Farming Simulator that you have, they run an esports competition as well. They're doing it as a fun thing that they're doing overall. And I think you can do it this one as well. So it's more a matter of fact, how much of this is going to be a part of your core structure overall.
Maybe we should speak on that, Simon. Like maybe people don't know exactly what it takes to run these levels of esports competitions. So when you say, because I've seen Candy Crush run competitions, like let's find the best player at Candy Crush. They do like, they do it once a year. But I can imagine that competition might take less time. Well, it probably does take less time than a PUBG World Cup, right? So there's probably levels to this. So maybe could you paint a picture? Like what does it take to run these esports competition from like the developer's perspective?
From a developer's perspective, it doesn't require much at all. As long as you have the possibility for people to compete against each other, usually when it comes to a custom game or something like that, and then some way for production to get some stats out of it. Those are the main things that you can take out of it. Or show who's leading, who's winning, who's not winning, and so on. That's the main thing if you want to have like a broadcasted esports. What you need to have is community so people can play against each other. You need to have some kind of broadcast overall. And if you're going a little bit bigger, something that your prize money or something for the people to get involved in it. After that, you will get everything. It's okay, how many viewers do you get? How do you get these people to play the game? How are you doing everything else? How much resources are you putting into it? And
when you say resources, are you talking prize money or something else?
Who's organizing the tournament? It needs to be a tournament needs to have some kind of set of rules. It's a time when you're going to have it. Who's going to produce it? Is it a community caster, an influencer, on who's going to do it? Does the game need an observer? There's a lot of these different things that comes into place if you want to have some kind of esports overall. And I think that a lot of people are thinking that barrier is too steep in some cases, why they're not going into it, because there's so many things you need to keep in mind.
You said it wasn't a lot, but then you said 9 things. So maybe, is it because once they're done, they're done? Like, is it a lot?
There are some things you need to be doing there, but it's also that if you're doing it yourself, it's going to be quite a lot of things that you need to do. And suddenly your community manager is turning into an esports manager, is handling everything. That's usually how it goes. So you need to take it step by step is my recommendation overall. But if you want to have successful, you need to put some effort into it as well. You need to put effort in it and make it broadcasted, promote it. It needs to be promoted inside a game and do a complete focus on it as well.
Yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it makes sense to kind of market test the appetite for esports by doing kind of more encouraging the community to do their own esports somehow, to see what the vibe is, their own competitions, or like just checking whether it's working.
If you have a huge pop-up, if you're a popular game, the community had already started to have competitions in the game.
Whether you like it or not, right? Yeah, it's just going to be happening.
Yes, it's going to happen on Discord servers or something else that is going to be everything. That's just how it is. That's just people are going to have that.
All right.
And then you can take a look at it. How are they doing it? And they can modify it.
Nice. Could you tell me how you do what you do? Because you just had a vacation and you have a very young baby. So
Yes.
I have no baby, and I'm about to take a 1 week vacation before Gamescom, and I'm shitting myself. But you have a kid as well. So a bit of a personal aside here, like just for anyone kind of leading the team, like how do you do what you do? Because I find it very impressive.
I think that I speak for anyone who's watching or listening to this one as well that has kids. They pretty much know what I'm talking about as well. It's you're going to have it. It's quite a lot of things to keep in mind, and how you do it is having a little kid. My lovely daughter is 1.5 years old, and of course she's my number one focus in everything that I'm doing. At the same time, I'm working. I love my job as well. And to make this possible, and when you're doing it, is that you need to plan quite a lot, plan in advance. It's a lot of early mornings. I usually wake up early in the morning to do a lot of the admin work when it comes to the company before she wakes up. And if you know, little babies, they wake up early sometimes, so you need to be up even earlier to make sure you're doing everything, but also plan to structure everything and so on. The second thing is that you need to, I would say, plan for the unexpected, because your kid is going to get sick. It needs to be an appointment with the doctor, there's something coming up and so on. So you can't really lock yourself in too much overall. I've started to learn when I'm doing everything that sometimes you have like, okay, this day I'm going to 100% focus everything on work. And it always fails because there's something coming up.
So you want to plan to fail, I guess.
Yes, you have to plan to fail and to do everything accordingly. You need to be better at delegating. You need to have people around you that can do stuff as well. Now we live in a digital age. You don't need to do everything yourself. You don't need to have
anything that you've
as well.
delegated in the last year that you're like, thank God I've done that?
Oh, the easy thing is everything when it comes to economy and bookkeeping. That's the easy thing, that you're just someone else taking care of it overall. I think the one thing that we also decided to do is graphics design for a company and so on. There are so many people that love to do it on a freelance basis, that are great at it. That is no need for us to have it in-house overall. They're just some of the things that we're doing. And then you can also automate quite a lot of other things as well, and focus. And the last thing as well, when it comes to this, is also focus, is that cut away everything unnecessary. I think I've become a better person at business when I became a father, because you're immediately starting to think about all of the things you shouldn't do.
Any examples?
Because
I'm not a father yet. I want to level up. I want to become. I want to get the lessons now.
You have your agency, and I think that what you're having in your mind is, I want to do this, and this. Like, you want to have everything, right? You see yourself.
Oh yeah.
You have your podcast. You have everything. You have your LinkedIn business. You have your. You want to host your own gaming events and everything else. Is that
you got it?
When you're looking at it, when you become a father, you're thinking about yourself. Maybe we shouldn't do that.
Yeah,
there's been a couple of times. Yes, there's been a couple of times where there's so many things you want to do myself. So one example is that way back when we're launching, when I was part of GLoot, there was a brand called GLL. I think 2 years ago I bought back the brand name of it, GLL, and it's always been on my mind that I want to relaunch this brand.
Ooh.
I really want to do it, everything else is that. But in my mind, I've also had the things that, no, not right now. That would take too much time. That's not the focus. Let's keep the brand. There's going to come a day when it's happening, but I'm not going to go ahead into doing it. That's an example of where you need to take a step back and just think about it as, is this really what you should be doing right now as a company, as a person? Take
I
on
find
more
it very
things?
hard, Simon, to do like one day because I have a lot of those ideas. And right now, instead of saying one day, I'm like, okay, next year. Next year, I'm going to be doing like all out my gaming events. This year is more collab and side events. I've said that as my like day. But it's just interesting hearing. I'm reflecting hearing you say that. Like I got the podcast, I got my LinkedIn business, I got a team, got my own content to write, and yeah, when you add everything together, it gets a bit silly. But I always think, yeah, but I'm going to do it at this time. But it's interesting that you're saying someday, right?
It's always good to test things as well, though.
Maybe don't get married to the idea, right?
No, don't get married to it. That's a good way to put it. You're testing quite a lot of stuff in your business, and that's good overall. Maybe it's going to be that way for you, that in a year or two, you're going to think about, should I really continue with this one? Should I refocus? Should I do something else or double down on some part of the business? And that's the same thing, I would say, or similar at least, that you need to focus on it. But it's also, my example with the brand was one thing, but it's also about the smaller things. Cut away the meetings, cut away these different things that you're doing. When you're founder of a company, you also get a lot of different people that wants to have meetings with you, the services and everything
I've only
else.
started feeling that now. Up until Gamescom, I'm starting to get it myself. Now I know how it felt when I was the one spamming people a couple years ago. And you said cutaway meetings. I feel like I've been very low meetings, and I need to get more. And I'm finding it quite hard to understand like how many meetings. I'm not saying I'm not looking for like the gospel here on meetings, but I'm just wondering like anything that's worked for you that you cut away that you're glad you cut, or anything that you wouldn't cut, for example.
I think that when I look back at my years when I was at Yield as well, we had meetings and things about everything. It was all the time overall. And I just think back at that time and I'm thinking that we're doing some of the same things now with a less amount of people and less amount of meetings, and we're better at it. Sometimes these kind of meetings to sync everyone is just a waste of time overall. And I think that we had that era overall when it comes to the Scrum era, and everyone was doing stand-ups, these weekly syncs 3 times a week. You need to talk through about everything. And we took those offline and made them online during the pandemic, which actually made it worse.
I feel like they take longer online. Is that me? Like they take
some, yes, yeah, of course, because everyone needs to speak, and especially when you're like 10 people. One-on-one meeting, it's another thing that's easier to do, much easier. But if you have like 10 people, everyone needs to speak and everything else, it can sometimes take longer. Who's taking meeting notes? Who's doing that? So all of these things is things that you can actually cut a little bit. I think I would say that the one meetings you shouldn't cut is the IRL meetings, the possibilities that you have, the networks, the events, the lunches, the everything else. That's the things that I'm not planning on cutting away, because those are important. Yeah. And I think that in a world of AI online, and you'll see quite a lot of spam online and everything else, these kind of live events will become even more important.
Oh yeah, I'm very doubling down on the live stuff.
And I think that you will see that overall in all industries, I would say, even in the esports live audience. You will see it in music, you will see it in everything else, because when everything is becoming easily AI generated, online spammed, you can't even put a work up now because you get like 2,000 job applications and you don't know what to do. The IRL things is becoming more important. Like,
it's almost like a filter, right? It's like there's a few things that instantly become true when it's IRL. This person has invested time to be here. There's a level of check, whether it's an event, enjoying music, or it's like finding a job. If someone's come in person to find me, it's a much
And I
better
think
filter
that also
than the
people will
2000.
like it more to have like the kind of live events that you're
It's
having
more enjoyable,
overall.
right? It's more memorable.
Yes.
Those are the things I remember,
And
right?
it's a real person. It's nothing fake. It's a real person.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have anything in between. So those are the things I'm not cutting out overall. Rather the opposite. So you just need to shift. And I think that my learnings when it comes to business has been one part of it, but also becoming a father and a family has become another thing out of it.
Beautiful. Just wanted to close off, like, based on this conversation today, anything that we've missed, like, is there any advice that you'd give to devs, starting a new studio, kind of this year, next year? What would you tell them?
Oh, I think that if you're starting a new studio and you want to launch, or like if you want to be a successful game, a couple of things I would recommend is, first of all, there's massive amount of talent you can find online. You don't need to have a big studio to succeed. I think there's a lot of different examples right now that have proven it. We talked about Peak. We talked about there's other games, Claire Obscure, everything else. You can run a studio with, say, 4 to 10 people and have freelancers working with you, and you can become a smash hit. That's one thing to keep in mind. You don't need to be big. You don't need that. The second thing is that it's harder than ever to get through the noise when it comes to becoming a game. There's so many games launching on Steam, and there's so many games launching overall that you need to be creative when it comes to the marketing and promotion of the game. Overall, I would look at alternative sources when it comes to this. Usually the traditional formula that people are doing, that you're paying YouTube influencers and doing Twitch live streams for your game and so on, can be costly overall and might not fit you as a game, and try other things as well. And I think that you should take a look at other areas of marketing and promotion. Tools as well, services, TikTok, Discord, other things that can make your game fly overall.
Anything specific you'd recommend them to look at? You mentioned Discord, and
I will look at Discord marketing and get a community out of Discord. I think you can get a lot of different, I would say, bang for the buck with that one.
I think a lot of devs might be listening to this and hear the word community and think, that sounds like a lot of work. I'm not here to manage a community. I want to make good games. Like, what would you tell them, kind of number one thing to avoid when they are kind of making their community for their game?
So the community is there whether you like it or not. That's the one thing. It sounds kind of harsh to say, but it's, if you have a dedicated community for your game that are going to be fan of your game, that's something amazing. And you need that for your game to succeed, especially for a small game. You need that kind of initial word of mouth and people to be a part of your game. That's something you need. So as soon as you have a core loop and a good game concept that you can try out, and if you can have a community part of it, that's great. Because they will be your ambassadors and be your people that are going to talk with your game. All of these kind of co-op games that we're talking about overall that you mentioned, and we talked about Peak, horror games and so on, it's a lot of based around the community that are loving that game overall. Helldivers 2 became super popular where people co-op playing it on Discord. That's one thing. Sure, they had a big marketing, but other games as well. Like, you need the community to thrive.
Sweet. Simon, thanks so much. Everyone at home, big thank you for you to listening. And yeah, find Simon on LinkedIn. Definitely give him a follow. And if you've been watching for a while, share it in your Slack group. Send it to your boss. Subscribe. Come back. Bit of call to action. Lovely. Simon, thank you so much.